Hi, I'm Philip Hundl. I'm an attorney in Wharton County. Our law firm, Wadler, Perches, Hundl, and Kerlick, serves Wharton County and the surrounding counties. My area of practice focuses on condemnation and eminent domain. I spoke earlier about the initial circumstances in which a landowner may be faced with a condemnation proceeding or eminent domain action by a private company. Now I'd like to talk, I'll call it part two, of what happens if you, the landowner, and the private company, in this case let's call it the pipeline company, cannot reach an agreement on how much you should be compensated for the pipeline easement that you're going to grant to the pipeline company. What happens next? Is that it? Is it over? Does the pipeline company have to reroute its pipeline? If that pipeline company has the right of eminent domain or the right of condemnation, then there's a process. The process is set out in the Texas Property Code, Chapter 21. The steps are as follows. You have to receive your landowner Bill of Rights. The pipeline company in this example would provide you with its valuation of your property that it intends to acquire by condemnation. And then the pipeline company has to make you it's what's called a final bona fide offer. And that has to be done, and that provides you with hopefully the highest number that the pipeline company will be offering you up to this point. And you have a certain amount of time to evaluate that offer and decide if you want to accept it or not. If you choose to reject that offer, then the next step most likely will be the pipeline company filing a condemnation suit against you. And that condemnation suit will typically be in the county in which the project is going to occur, or the county in which your land is. And that process begins with, obviously, you'll need to get served with the lawsuit, so you may be hearing a knock on your door with a sheriff or constable or private process server providing you with the condemnation lawsuit, the legal papers filed by the pipeline company. Next, you'll have a certain amount of time to answer that lawsuit, and by meaning answer, with the assistance of an attorney, I would strongly recommend the lawyer, he or she, will provide a proper answer or response to the pipeline company's lawsuit. The next step, the pipeline company will request the court appoint special commissioners to evaluate the value of the land that's going to be taken by the pipeline company. And the special commissioners, it's a panel of 3 commissioners that are landowners in the county, and they will typically visit the property, seek input from other experts in the industry if they see fit, but they will come up with a determination of the value of the property. How will they do that? They will do that at a special commissioner's hearing, in which the pipeline company will have the ability to put on testimony or evidence, typically by and through their expert, of what they believe, the pipeline company believes, is the valuation. And then also the landowner will be able to put on his own testimony by and through an expert or evidence of what the valuation of the property is from his perspective. Taking all that into consideration, the special commissioners will be able to formulate an award, it's called an award, of the valuation that they believe the land is worth, or the damages caused by the pipeline company's condemnation action. Once that award has been issued, then the landowner can choose to do nothing and accept it, or he can object to the award. And if he chooses to object to the award, then he must properly object to the award timely, and then proceed within that same lawsuit to a final trial, either by judge or jury. So hopefully this discussion has briefly talked about the process of condemnation. First and foremost, landowners need to know and understand that when they're faced with a condemnation action, or when they're approached by a private company, pipeline company, power line company, or a governmental entity that is seeking to acquire their land, either an easement over their property or actually a fee simple interest in their land, then they have certain rights, and those rights are set out in a landowner bill of rights, Texas Property Code, and there's a procedure and process that has to be followed, and the landowner needs to make sure that it is followed.